Hey guys, Shifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 3 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the stock attachment. We know in Black Ops 3 the stock is not as powerful as it has been in previous Call of Duty games, and firing while moving seems to have been nerfed a little bit. So the question is this attachment still worthy? The gameplay you're seeing right now is me using the HVK30 with stock, and I'm trying to get the most amount of stock kills, hipfire kills, high mobility kills, so that I can really show this attachment in action. We're going to be doing comparative tests today and talking about numbers, but before I get into that, we're going to do some basic facts. Stock does not change accuracy, hipfire, or aim down sights time. A lot of strange sort of myths around this, like stock decreases recoil, stock makes your hipfire better or worse, or stock allows you to aim down sights faster. None of that is true. Those things do not change with stock. Just wanted to dispel a few myths. What stock does is it increases your movement speed and strafing speed while aiming down sights. It's a pretty straightforward attachment in that regard. The faster you can move while aiming down sights, the more likely you are to be able to peek around corners and kill people, or kind of aim with the left stick if you want to. I do it a lot, and I run stock on a few weapons. However, in Black Ops 3, unlike other Call of Duty games, your movement speed while aim down sights decreases when you start shooting. So you can't hold down the trigger and strafe like you used to be able to in other Call of Duty games. So the second you start holding down the trigger on any kind of automatic weapon, your movement speed is going to decrease. Many of you may have noticed this. So I'm going to do some comparative tests before I jump into the numbers, and if you don't want to watch this section, it's only about 2 minutes long, but I'm going to show a weapon from every single class with and without stock so that you get a good visual idea of what it's going to do. We're here on Nuketown because this is the best place to test almost anything in Black Ops 3, and starting off with the ICR-1, or just a normal assault rifle, and you can see without stock it's pretty slow. However, when I put stock on it, the movement speed increases significantly. Not that it's amazing or anything, right? But that's a lot more workable, and do keep in mind that all of these movement speeds are going to be slower if I start shooting while I'm strafing. Now, the submachine gun looks about like an assault rifle with stock, maybe even a little bit faster, but what's crazy about this, I want you to see how fast this thing can strafe when you have stock on it. Like, this is kind of a shocking amount of speed, and we'll talk about why mathematically later on, but this is incredibly fast strafing speed, and I hate to say it, but I actually kind of liked stock on submachine guns. And I mean, I never thought that I would say that because it doesn't seem like it's that valuable, but not bad. And you'll see a similar story with shotguns here. When I put stock on shotguns, it moves so fast I can't even properly track the dummy because I'm just kind of zipping all over the map. Very weird in that regard. Again, never thought I'd be using it on shotguns, but it would. Obviously, light machine guns, we're going to see a big relative performance, so obviously very, very slow with no attachments. That's just kind of how they work. But when I put a stock on it, you'll see that it is going to be much, much more manageable. Not that it's fantastic or anything, right? Not that this is like the best thing since sliced bread, but it is way, way, way more manageable than that elephant speed we had before. And one of the strange things is I thought that it would be very beneficial on sniper rifles, but what I found is that's just not so much the case. So yeah, without stock, I'm using the Drakon here just as an example. It's very, very slow strafing speed. Not a whole lot of left stick aiming, and I thought, you know, I'm going to put a stock on this thing and zip around, and of course, yes, it is faster. It's an improvement, but is it really like that much better? Is it really that worth, in my opinion? Probably not, except maybe for these very low zoom scopes. I mean, I thought it would be a little bit better than that. But now that we've done all this qualitative testing, let's jump straight into the numbers and explain it all. Assault rifles have a base movement speed of 40% of your maximum when you're aiming down sights, which is quite slow. I believe that's slower than it has been in previous Call of Duty games. When you put a stock on that, it's going to increase up to 68%, about a 28% gain there. And I'm leaving these as decimal points, but just think of them as percents. They're just easier for me to quantify this way when I'm writing everything up. While firing, it gets a slight decrease down to 36%. However, you get a pretty big buff when you're firing with the stock. Like, that's all the way up to 57%. Very, very nice right there. Submachine guns were kind of shocking. Your base ADS movement speed is 80%, and that, I mean, you know, 80% you would think, okay, that's good enough. I won't need stock. However, with stock, your movement speed actually goes up to 104% or 1.04, so you're actually moving faster than normal with stock. Like, you actually get a movement speed increase, which is kind of shocking. Like, faster now, you can't sprint while you're doing this, but it is very fast. While firing, the penalty is very minor. However, while firing firing with a stock, it's almost non-existent. It's only a 1% penalty, so stock is surprisingly good on submachine guns, and I think that's why so many of the pros were running this. I didn't think it would be very good, but hey, I get them wrong sometimes. It was quite good. Light machine guns base movement speed while aimed down sights is 40%, same as the assault rifles. You'll see that with stock it's 0.68. However, it's got a huge penalty while firing, and you get a little bit of increase while stock firing. I will say that I just picked the BRM for this one because each light machine gun in the game has a different sort of ADS move speed. There's a lot of variation in this class, and you'll get a lot more benefit out of stock using it on the Dingo to make it better, or the Gorgon to just kind of make it usable, than you will on some of the other ones. A lot of variation in this class. Shotguns, you'll see an almost identical story to the submachine guns. Base movement speed is 80% when you're aiming down sights. With stock, you're actually moving faster than normal at 104%, which I would say is good, but it might screw up your rhythm kind of timing to just like accelerate when you aim down sights. That would be a little bit weird. While firing, you get a penalty, like a massive penalty on these things. You drop down to 30% movement speed, 36, my bad. However, stock firing, you're still at 104%, which is kind of bananas. That means that you can move incredibly fast with shotguns while firing when you have the stock, which makes the stock a surprisingly good attachment on some of these fully automatic shotguns. I never thought I would be saying that, but mathematically it seems to work out pretty well. Snipers are easy enough to understand. The base movement speed is 40% when you aim down sights. With stock, it gets a flat 20% increase up to 0.6 or 60% movement speed, which I thought I would really feel it, right? Like I thought I would really feel that oomph and it would be so much better, but that just kind of turned out to not be the case. While firing, mathematically I have 0. I think that's because they're all semi-automatic weapons and it doesn't really change anything. You just slow down for like 1 frame. I think that's how that maths out. And stock firing is 0.48. I don't think that's going to make hardly any difference on these particular weapons. So overall, what does stock do? I know I just like bombarded you guys with a lot of numbers, but it seems like stock increases your aim down sights movement speed by about 20% on most weapons. And this isn't a 20% of total, like 120% or 1.2 times whatever, but just like a flat plus 20% out of your maximum. It's just like plus 20% on almost every weapon in almost every situation, and it's about 20% while you're firing too. Of course, yes, some's a little more, some's a little less, but that's a very easy way to remember it. Whether or not it's worth, that's kind of up to you. I find it most useful on assault rifles and light machine guns, because those are the weapons that you're going to most often be kind of strafing around the corner and peek shotting people, and those are the ones with some movement penalties where being a little bit faster is going to be the difference between life and death. However, given the recent information, and because the pros like it so much, I guess they already knew this kind of thing, it can actually be quite good on submachine guns and shotguns if you want to play super aggressive. I don't personally run it on my submachine guns or shotguns yet. I might start doing so after in-depth, but because it's not the biggest benefit, like 80 and 100% is pretty close, but if you really want to play aggressive, if you really like ADS and strafe a lot, and you really want to go hard on people, it can actually be quite good because it makes you move faster than normal, which is something that I don't think many players would complain about. So yeah, very good in that regard as well. Guys, that is all for this in-depth episode. I hope that you enjoyed it and learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. The previous episode was on the Varix long shot trick, and the next episode is going to be on FMJ. Drifter out.